Hello guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to the web, where today we have a fun little battle against the Dwarves playing as the Lizardmen, and yeah, probably not the most optimal build, I'll be honest. A lot of chaff here to be cleared out by miners with blasting charges, but fortunately it doesn't look like they've brought any. So immediately as soon as the game began, I was kind of having a look. What kind of dwarves am I up against? We have some cannons on the approach, a sky hammer, which is a real pain because it does have the 5 uses of the Skyhammer bomb, which will decimate my front line if I'm not careful trying to push it off. Immediately I'm thinking, well, I don't exactly want to be kind of fighting these guys in melee. So I've got the Ancient Salamander up here. I kind of want him to come down and be shooting into the middle, around here. But it will be a bit of an interesting game, always is against the Dwarfs. Again, Chameleon Skinks, alright, but they're not armor piercing, so we really just use them to get rid of these aerial stuff, which tends to be a little bit more fragile. Can't see these Ulthos Raiders, because I do try to exploit that as a gap, kind of in the defense, go right around, which was actually a good play from them. And they do seem to be very impartial towards Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, which I suppose makes sense because there is a lot of armor on the Lizardmen roster. Either way, we are kind of moving up. We're gathering all our cavalry and popping it in this bush, trying to go for a bit of an alpha strike. We did move a skink cohort from our front line up here because I realized I didn't bring any cheap reinforcements, just kind of pop here early. And we are kind of just playing it back and forth. Really want to make sure those cannons don't do great work against our single entities, so we're hiding these guys in the forest, which will reduce, well, how many cannonballs actually hit them. Although he cannot hide because he's too big of a chunky boy. Always big fan of Rev Crystal, can't heal himself, but not a huge issue. Probably should have brought him a little bit further into the forest, but you know, it's fine. I think he swaps targets to my Slan, which I'd much rather he attack because I can actually heal him with the Rev Crystal. Rev Crystal can't heal himself, unfortunately. Either way, Umbral Tide, also a bit of an odd pick. Yeah, because I saw these gyrocopters with brimstone guns coming up. Umbral Tide, bit of a big, weird pick, but it is quite good against the large gyrocopters, the Sky Hammer, that kind of stuff. But apart from that, I don't think there are any large, any other large units. Chameleon Skinks do become more visible. They are getting good shots into the Slan. Oof, Jesus Christ. Yep, that's not exactly ideal. We are setting these skink cohorts up, and eventually, when I've kind of figured out that they don't have any kind of hidden units, we do start moving up our front line. As I was quite anxious, I didn't want these guys to immediately destroy the Saurus. We are going to start moving out all our cavalry we've saved up in this forest here. We have 3 units of it, and 2 units of Cold One Riders. Fantastic unit against the Dwarves, Cold One Riders, because they are armor piercing. And if you drop a Barona's Time Warp from our Slan, who is rapidly getting depleted, it turns out quite nicely. This Slan is coming with Barona's Time Warp, which is just a personal favourite of mine, since the Lizardmen do tend to have very low melee attack, but high weapon strength. Net of Amatok, less useful against the Dwarves, but good against their more mobile aerial assets that will target your single entities. And then Shem's Burning Gaze, just to actually get him doing something between kind of reactively casting spells. Either way, we are getting good pot shots into the gyrocopters with the brimstone guns, which we really need to because these guys are large. So they are getting quite rapidly decimated. Moving up here, we should really be moving these guys up. We do eventually. Same with Ancient Salamander. There's just a lot of micro going on at the moment. I'm trying to micro, 16 units, trying to make sure they don't get stuck on great weapons, get them into the back line. And we are losing the value trading quite badly at the moment. They've basically doubled our value, but it is early. Shooting into these guys is always good. They have 40% missile resist. Bring these guys back a bit and really need to crush this front line. Feral Cold Ones are really important for your front line. They're cheap. And the Saurus Warriors do not come in with any kind of armor piercing. So even the really cheap Dwarven infantry will do quite well against them. Won't win, but it will kind of keep them there for a while. It is good the gyrocopter shooting into these guys. Again, 40% missile resist. We do pop a cold... What's that? Cold-blooded? Yeah. Keep these guys in the fight just to pop these away. And we coming in with the Ripidactyls, who are a great pick against basically everything the Dwarves bring. We are getting some wonderful reverse shots here. You've always got to be careful with the Ancient Salamander, as it will shoot your own troops if you try and shoot from behind. Even though it will allow itself to shoot. But because we've got this nice angle here, it is doing quite well. Absolutely lovely. Apart from that, we have pushed some Cold Ones into the back line. These guys don't really need to be fighting the Ulthos Raiders. They're coming down as well. And we're really just trying to shut down the Quarrelers, the Sky Hammer, etc. Rev Crystal, quite healthy. He's just popping all his heals on the Mage Priest of Light. Belagar, none of the Dwarven Lords are really too much of a pain to verse, to be honest with you. They're all infantry size. Ripidactyls do very well against them, but you can just clump them up in cavalry and they really can't get out because they don't have any strong AoE unless they bring magic, or their version of magic anyway. We are pushing the Lizardmen right into the back line as we need some terror routing. Fortunately, these guys do rout. The feral cold ones got caught. Not a huge issue though. And we are bringing down the Ancient Salamander, also getting fantastic shots in here. Bit of missed micro on my part. Umbral Tide should not be in melee, but it is better than them trying to shoot over the back of these troops because it would do a bunch of friendly fire. Apart from that, we do get a net on the Skyhammer, and we're tearing it to shreds with 2 sets of Ripidactyls. One that's fairly beat up, but the other one doing quite nice damage. And that's what the net's really nice for. They like to come in with sniping attempts on very expensive, like the Skyhammer. Has it used any of its? Has 4 of them left. I'm not. Yeah, 5 uses. Oh, maybe it hasn't used any. Okay, that's a bit of a micro. Really good to get those like Skyhammer shots. Maybe 2 down on each infantry unit would really decimate my front line. We did have something that was trying to harass the back line here, but we just brought the cavalry back in for the armor-piercing reverse charge. Always good to see. And now this guy is doing God's work, honestly. Ancient Salamander, quite good. 160 range, which is much higher than the normal hunting packs, which only have 100 range. 125. And it's like a nice armor-piercing AoE blob. So, yeah, it's always just a kind of good pick to have. Good thing about Bastillodon as well is he can just leave. He's got a lot of mass, and he's got 140 armor. So, against these giant slayers, don't want to be in there. They are anti-large, so we just kind of leave. Just walk away. Because he is... yeah, he's actually quicker. That's a bit embarrassing. Do bring out the Pterodon Riders. Really just want to finally shut down these cannons. They are getting good shots in. He's bringing out more cheap Dwarf Warriors, and over here... Ripidactyl is just going quite well. Drop the Baronas on them. They now have 79 melee attack. Just to be careful not to friendly fire them. Bringing back the Slan. Slan will outrun them. Again, a bit embarrassing. 34 speed to the... oh, that's why it's Grumbling Guard. I thought it was Slayers. Yeah, 26 speed. Expensive though, unit. But that's fine. We can just keep pulling this guy back. I think he does get caught up a little bit. I thought they were Slayers, so it probably isn't as bad as it looks. Because their Slayers are anti-large. Either way, we are shooting these guys into the Slayers. Slayers have low armor. These guys have no armor piercing, so it's a match made in heaven. Although having them shoot into these Dwarven Warriors would probably also be a good go, because they are quite bunched up. This guy is doing God's plan. We get a drop rocks on here, which absolutely decimates that Corolla unit, but they do have 40 armor, and this is not armor piercing. So it's not ideal. We do hit the melee attack just to finish off these cannons. They do cause fear for 600 gold. Not a bad go. He has brought Hammers out, an incredibly expensive unit, who will absolutely decimate the skink cohort, so we are going to bring the Ancient Salamander back up at some point. Start shooting into these guys since he has armor piercing, and sometime we do bring out some, Raisnons. Now we're kind of hitting the, we're going quite well in the value trading. We've kind of struggled up ahead a bit. We do have an extra 2,000 gold worth of value of units out on the map at the moment. But the issue is we really need to get our strong front line back up. The front line we have now is looking a little bit beat up. It doesn't trade exceptionally well into any of the Dwarves. So these guys are quite slow. Not as slow as the Dwarves, thank goodness. But really need to be pushed up to kind of keep these 2 points. Raisdons have done their, well, good work, I suppose. Keeping Belagar down. We really should be looking for a snipe on Belagar. Maybe when we get these Raisdons back, we'll hit him with a net, Barona's Time Warp, and just kind of buzzsaw through him. Apart from that, the Giant Slayers, yeah, it's not terrible. They have very low armor, so Saurus Warriors do actually trade quite well into them, but these guys are unbreakable. Not a huge issue, because Saurus Warriors do have quite high melee attack. They do bring out, there we go, the big scary Iron Drakes, which are Trollhammer Torpedo Regiment of Renown. Is that it? Seems like it. Doesn't look like a Regiment of Renown. Maybe that's just what they're called. Real pain though. So immediately I was like, well, shit. Really should be kind of keeping these guys back. I would love to tell you that was a strategic play. I just forgot they were there. Also a lot of miss micro over here, to be honest. Let's see what those hammers are doing. We did bring out some Chameleon Skinks who are shooting into these guys, but really need this guy to be shooting in. These guys don't have armor piercing. So Ancient Salamander is doing God's work though. Ooh, the blasting charges do go out, decimating the skink cohort. And really against the Lizardmen, you want to be bringing these guys on the approach, to be perfectly honest with you. Although don't do much, because even the basic infantry have 60 armor. Anyway, the Ancient Salamander is getting shot at, not a huge deal. We have brought the Slan back here. He's hiding in the bushes. And yeah, it's not working too badly, honestly. Grumbling Guard. And now we're trying to kind of use our extra mobility, because they've pushed us off. We can go exploit the gaps and start taking this point with the Ancient Salamanders. So the Umbral Tide, who do have Stalk. I'm not sure they're invisible at the moment because they do seem to be shooting at things. See, this is a classic example you would not want to be shooting here at the moment. You just hit all your troops. So maybe something like this. Dwarf Warriors, nice to mixed up. Although unfortunately we did bring them off the point. Either way though, hopefully, yep. Oh, Cold One Riders are going to envelop Belagar. This is where we want to bring the Slann out. Pop up Baronas on him because he does have quite high melee defense. But either way, he's completely trapped in here. He has pushed all his buff. Holy shit. Oh damn, okay, 108 melee attack with all his buffs popped. Yeah, you would not want to be dueling him. Especially since he has infantry size and most of the Lizardman lords are anti-large. Anyway, we're getting nice pot shots into the hammerers, and this is a 300 unit, 300 gold unit. So obviously fantastic, well, absolutely fantastic value here. The poor skinks do get, no, I think I did retreat them, yeah, they didn't get routed off, because I wanted them to help cap later, but they don't have many models left, but it looks like they do break. No worries though, we do have the raised on hunting packs, well, the anti-armor variant, they're doing quite well. Apart from that, it is, yeah, going pretty well. We need to try and keep these Iron Drakes off. I think, yeah, we do bring Ripidactyls around, that was a great play, and we drop a Baronas here. These guys now have 57, so obviously not perfect. And I think they, yeah, they do bring out the Grudge Throwers. Nice cheap artillery. Bastiladon just beating up what's left of these Grumbling Guard. And these guys getting shot in the back. Which is, this is like the perfect kind of angle for any kind of hunting packs. Because like I said before, they're behind, they will shoot into the back of your own lines. Which, yeah, it's not really ideal. Lucky they're not armor piercing. But either way, he does have quite a few. I'm kind of winning the tempo battle here. He has a lot of stuff routing. He only has, I think he bought 12 and 12, so he has 24 units, and he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 nearly dead, or almost dead. Hammers are still running off, I believe. Hammers just, yep, they're running there. And we're capping this point, which is always good. Again, shooting into these guys is a real pain because they do a 40% missile resist. They do quite well, although we are getting pushed off by these Gyrocopters with Brimstone guns because we want to come in. Well, say hi to Belagar, you poor schmuck. So that's obviously not ideal for him. I think we feel a bit safer with the Slann Priest because, well, Grudge Throwers are focusing on these guys. And honestly, I think the Rev Crystal has a couple goes back in it, but I think it is hiding in the bushes because it's almost dead. So we want to keep that as a bit of a heal battery, pop it just here, and then we can move our guys back and forth. Again, Slann do have, 7.5 k HP. They're definitely not a squishy Lord by any means, which is quite good for beginners. Again, this is how I normally like to bring my Lord if you're just getting to Lizardmen, because the net of Amatok is absolutely brilliant. Helps you keep your mobile backline kind of safe. And yeah, things are going quite well. As you can see, despite that initial kind of, it's always a bit of a scrappy start with the Dwarves, because you really got to get into their backline, shut down all their expensive range units. Although we didn't do too fantastically because they brought a bunch of Quarrelers, who probably did get value, I reckon. Let's see what we got. Obviously, this guy didn't get much, but he was the Lord. He just needed to survive. Umbral Tide, probably not ideal, but I do just love bringing them full stop. So they got 1.2. They just pay for themselves. They are quite expensive at 1100. So an extra, what, 250 gold over the base Salamanders, but they do come in with Stalk and Perfect Vigor. This guy got 2k, so he paid for himself. He's 1050 gold. Bastiladon, 345. He was just here for the heals, though. These guys, Cold One Riders, paid for themselves. Oh, no, they didn't actually, did they? Yeah, I have a hard time getting Saurus to pay for themselves. Not because they're bad, they're just there to hold the point. They don't do great damage, and especially against the Dwarves, all that armor, obviously a bit more difficult. One of these guys paid for themselves, the other did not, but they were just there to be annoying and also soak up all that Quarreler fire with their extra 40% missile resist. And same with these guys, right? They're here to cap, they're here to soak up blasting charges and push into their back line while other stuff is fighting. So they did fine for that. On their side, Belagar, yeah, probably didn't pay for himself. Again, Dwarf Lords are very hard to beat, like sniping Lords, because they're slow, they're easy to get pushed in by cavalry and other high mass units. And truthfully, yeah, if you just net them down, you can really shoot them to pieces quite quickly. Apart from that, I did like all the Gyrocopter play. That is quite effective against the Lizardmen. Just do be careful of Chameleon Skinks. A lot of other players like to bring no hunting packs and only Chameleon Skinks. I've seen like as many as 5 in tournaments. So if you're going to do that, I would probably recommend leave them for the later half of the match, or at least keep them back until the front lines clash. And then you could have come in with a Sky Hammer, absolutely decimated the Saurus, and there's very little I can do in that short amount of time with these guys, since they don't do armor piercing. Apart from that, the cannon got 1.6, did quite good actually. Was sniping this guy, was trying to snipe the Feral Bastillodon with Rev Crystal, sorry. So that wasn't bad. And then we had these 3 Quarreler units. Yeah, it's generally a good pick. They do kind of keep me honest with these guys, but there's a lot of stuff in the Lizardmen roster that will soak up this kind of low damage range units, I guess, or like all the ammunition, without being too much of a loss in value. Apart from this, Dwarf Warrior is always a good pick, since the Saurus don't actually do anti-AP damage. So yeah, they're not armor piercing. So I would always recommend at least 3 of the Feral Cold One Riders. Looking at the reinforcements, Ripidactyl Riders always do fantastically, since they are armor piercing and anti-infantry, basically designed for the Dwarves. If I kind of felt very confident, I do like bringing out the Crocscore, not because they're particularly good units, but I do enjoy using them. I think they look very cool. And yeah, if you pop them with the Barona's Time Warp, they do alright, because again, they have very high weapon strength, but very low melee attack. Then if we look at the Cold One Riders, obviously, normally I do like to bring the Spear variant, extra 150 gold. Yeah, that's correct. They're 1,000 gold each. And yeah, they're fine. But you don't really need them against the Dwarves, since they don't have any large on-the-ground units from memory. So you're just paying that extra for nothing, really. But they are armor piercing, quite good unit. We have these 2 Saurus in the back line. Obviously, yep. I do like bringing Spears normally, but again, there's no ground-based large units. Razons were just shooting into the Hammerers. Didn't really do much, just kept that top point. And the Pterodons are a bit difficult to work with. Very good against Empire and such, but these guys do have a lot of armor, and they don't do armor piercing with their drop rocks. Apart from that, Feral Cold Ones are absolutely needed. They're fantastic for kind of cutting through the backline, exploiting gaps you have made, and they're a lot cheap. They're basically half the price of the Cold One Riders, and will shut down a ranged unit just as effectively. But they'll probably lose a lot more health doing so. So yeah, it was a pretty fun build actually. If I had to make one, if I'd change anything, I'd probably go a little bit harder on artillery in the approach. Try and value trade a little bit more. Maybe with some more Slayers in the back line. Kind of force me to play a mobility game in the bottom objective, and then maybe go for the Quarrelers on the top objective, as it's harder to kind of flank in that much smaller area. But artillery does seem to be the way to go when you have such a nice line of sight there. But it was a good idea, especially with the Goblubber. Those 2 are great units, and I did expend a lot of resources trying to shut down that cannon, which still paid for itself. So that was actually quite well played there. Anyway, thank you for watching.